Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty.
You have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
I'm grateful to the Hall voters and humbled to join the 2022 class and 29 former 49ers who preceded me. I proudly wore gold throughout my career. I'll cherish this jacket for the rest of my life. You know, noted writer, author Brooks compares us to a grove of aspen trees with a single root system. That's you too, Brooks writes. You're not a tree. You're part of a vast root system, and you need to cultivate your system. Not just look out for your tree. I stand here thanks to my root system. My wife, family, and friends, teammates, my football brothers, the University of Notre Dame and the 49ers, coaches who saw potential and honed it, doctors, trainers, spiritual mentors, and our church and school community.
All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here to rainy North Carolina as we are at West Cabarrus High School in Concord, North Carolina for the latest edition of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series connected by Extreme Networks. Today featuring this awesome gentleman sitting beside me, Hall of Famer Mr. Bryant Young. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, where it's our mission to honor the greats of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made this gentleman right here a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and a great football player, but also made him a great person off the field as well. And I'm super excited. And hopefully everybody here tuned in today as well is excited to hear how these values have impacted your life, both on and off the field. Before we do get started, some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks for making this opportunity even possible, not only for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but for students all over the country, and specifically the students here in front of us as they trickle in from their classes that they were dismissed from. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers, administrators, educators, anybody that shared this program out with their students today or tuned in with us right now. We thank you so much for allowing us to be a small part of your students' learning experience. And then lastly, we have to thank the students. I always joke that I have a bunch of questions I'm ready to ask. But I'm not here to ask the questions. We're here for the students to take advantage of this opportunity for them to ask questions during the program as well. No matter where you're watching us today, if you're taking pictures, make sure you're sharing those online and you're tagging at Pro Football HOF and at Extreme Networks and using the hashtag HOF values, and your post just might be reshared today. So truly one of the greatest football players of all time, a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Let's give a big round of applause and welcome Mr. Bryant Young. So I did joke that I get to ask a lot of questions, and being the host, I do get to ask the first. We talk about those values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Is there one of those that stand out most to you throughout your career, or were they all kind of like a team and you were able to kind of use all of them?
Definitely, you can use all of them, but the one that really stands out to me is integrity. That one goes a long way. I think it's the real fabric of all of those things, and it knits them together. Because if you can embrace that and understand the importance of that word, always trying to do the right thing behind the scenes when nobody's watching, and then also understanding there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And so as I look back over my career, that word it really resonates at every phase of my career. Before I started playing football, in my young career, and even today. And integrity is the one that stands out for me.
Awesome. So if you guys hear some noise in the background, we've got a different bell schedule here at the school today. So we've got kids trickling in here from their classes. So that's what you do here in the background. I want to talk a little bit about that, the idea of integrity. And obviously you learn that on the football field. How do you take those lessons from the football field and then translate them to life off the field, whether it was during your career, after your career was over, because that's a message that even students here today can take away and apply to their own lives?
Yeah, I just think that as you look just in life in general, like football is it's sports in general. It's really a great teacher, and a lot of things about life. You learn responsibility, you learn how to compete, you learn about accountability, and definitely about hard work and developing the work ethic. And for me, it really, when you go back, when you think about your performance on the field, and let's say you didn't play as well, you go back and do an inventory of what could I have done differently. It comes back to how you may have prepared, the information that you may have gotten on the field. Did you work hard in practice physically? Did you lift enough to prepare yourself? But did you prepare? Did you get the right information? And so if there's a chink in that and there's a little mishap, like you can uncover that and get a chance to really make a right wrong, make a wrong a right, and make sure that that you do live to see and play another down, another game, and then you have the ability to make those corrections.
So we've talked about what life is on the football field using those values, how you were able to translate it off the field, but how important were that a value like integrity for you on the field? And can you give us a specific example where you kind of had to look at yourself in the mirror specifically with integrity and go, is this the right decision for me? Is this the right decision for my career, for my team?
Yeah, I mean, just in life in general, like nobody's perfect. Like we all make mistakes, right? But just realizing that you're not your mistake, you can recover. And I think the best thing that we can do, like I mentioned before, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. The moment you realize that that something can be done to right a wrong, then do it. Whether it's doing something to help somebody when somebody's in need of something, or something that you may have done that nobody else knows about and only you know about. In your heart of hearts, that should really matter. When you make those decisions, either you said something to somebody that may have damaged their character, you have an opportunity to wipe that off your conscience and just apologize to a person about something you may have done that they had no idea you did. And that to me is something that when I look back over my life and my career, just making mistakes and trying to make sure that that people know who I am, and in the heart of hearts, I do have the right intentions.
All right, so we've talked about how important those values are throughout your career. I want to go to the end of your career. becoming a member of the Hall of Fame. I always like to ask what it's like walking into the Hall of Fame, being in Canton, Ohio as NFL legend Bryant Young, and then walking in those front doors as Hall of Famer Bryant Young. What's the difference like, and what were you feeling walking in those doors, knowing that you were a member of the Hall of Fame?
Very humbling. In this jacket, there's a number, and it represents the number that I am among all the Hall of Famers. Of all the 30-something thousand players, coaches, owners, you name it, that number represents, and it's a small number, it's 362. And I'm number 362 at that time of that many people, 30-some thousand people. Only 300, now it's over 370 something. It'd be about 380.
371.
371. 371, and then we're going to get into a bigger number with this year's class.
Very close, yeah.
But when you think about 30-something thousand people, and there's only 371 people in the Hall of Fame, like, do the math. That's less than 1%. Like, just think about the significance. So that's less than 1% of all the people that have been eligible to be, that have played the game, that have been eligible to be in the Hall of Fame. That's a very small percentage. To me, that's so humbling. Like, I did something that warranted me the ability to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. And you know, and I realized that all the people that had a part in my career, my parents, coaches, mentors, community leaders, church, doctors, people that are taking care of me, coaches. When I think about all the people that have been a part of my support system, I think about, man, like, everybody had a part in my development. And to be able to represent each of those people that had a really significant part, whether it was, they was in my life for 2 weeks, but it was impactful, or 5 or 10 years. To be able to represent those people is very humbling to me. And so nobody does it alone. And I'm just excited that I was able to walk in those doors and represent those people that have been such an important part of my life.
We'll definitely come back to what it's like being a member of the Hall of Fame here before we're done. We also got to get some playoff talk, because you got a pretty close tie into what's going on here in the NFL today. But want to open up to questions from some of our students. You guys have the opportunity here to ask questions. We're going to start with all of our students right here in our live audience today. And as I always said, I'm old school. If you got a question, I'm going to take the first hand that goes up. It's not very often that a Hall of Famer walks through your school's front door. So take advantage of this opportunity. If you got a question, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, go ahead. State your name, then go ahead with your question.
Hey, Chancellor. I want to ask you what was your biggest hardship in your career?
Biggest hardship.
His question. You guys hear the question? Yeah. Biggest hardship in my career probably was in my 5th year. I had a major setback. I broke my leg like week 13. It was the 12th game of the year. And there was a Monday night football game, and I snapped my leg. I broke my tib in my fibula, and it was excruciating pain. And at the moment, I was like, I can't believe it. I was in shock, and realizing that this is something that is career ending. And once I realized the magnitude of my injury and what it was going to take to get back, it was a huge challenge. And, it could have been all taken away from me. But there was a lot that went on. It was a wake-up call in a sense as well, that it allowed me to reflect and pause and recalibrate and think about other things outside of football, but think about things that are more impactful in life. And that not only changed me in the trajectory of my career and threatened, my career to continue, but it also gave me an opportunity to look and expand my thoughts and patterns and think more on a broader level, and just about people. But that was that was a moment where it really challenged everything about me. My love for the game. It revealed a lot of things that I thought I knew, but it also revealed things that I didn't know about myself. And so, but thank God I was able to work back from that injury and came back and played the next year.
Awesome. All right, we got another question in the room. Go ahead and raise your hand, state your name, and then go ahead with your question.
What was the first part again?
What helps your longevity?
Oh,
Longevity.
great. Yeah, great question. What helped with the longevity of my career? Hard work, taking care of your body. You know, when you're young, you don't realize when you get older how long it'll take to recover from a game or a practice. And so I took that for granted. You know, I was young early in my career and didn't maybe do the things that I did later in my career. But weightlifting was important. What I ate was important. The amount of rest that I got was really important and very critical to recovery. But as I got older, I had to kind of reinvent myself a little bit, not change, you know, my perspective in terms of how I saw the game and my love for it, but how I took care of my body. And so the recovery part of it, you know, how many times did I get in the cold tub? Preventive maintenance exercises, stretching, getting massages that were helping my recovery. And so a lot went into it, but it changed over the years. And that was a big part of it. But the mentality as well, you know, just your outlook and making sure that I didn't cheat the game and giving great effort, you know, in practice, in the classroom, film study, and then on the field for my teammates. That helped me in my career and helped me play for a long time.
Awesome. Great question. We also have a lot of, not only do we have the students sitting here right in front of us, but we do have students connected in literally from all over the country. So right now we're going to go to one of those schools. So we're going to go to Stanford School for our next question. So our folks there at Stanford, go ahead and unmute your microphone. Have the students step up to the camera, state your name, the grade that you're in, and then go ahead with your question.
James, fifth grade. Why did you play just for the 49ers?
So for those of you who don't know, one team your entire career. Why was that a goal? Why one team?
Yeah, it was a goal, but we all know it don't happen like that. If you look at the league now, you see guys that are moving around in free agency. They may get cut or they don't get their contract renewed, and so they become a free agent. Some by choice, some by not their choice. But for me, it was a goal of mine. But sometimes we don't control that destiny. I think me wanting to be there and be a part of the community was a goal of mine, but it also was a need for the organization. And it happened to be a good marriage. The organization wanted me. I wanted to be there. In fact, I think I gave up a lot in terms of not going to the free agent market and going to another team. Like I wanted to be there. So I would re-sign before I became a free agent so that I could stay with the team. And it was important to me, you know, to build a foundation in the community, to finish what I started. There were some ups and downs. We had good seasons. We had some very, very lean seasons as well. And so to be able to have longevity in a place and be a part of the community, that was important to me. And then to start what I finished and leave it better than I found it.
How important is it and cool is it to still be connected? Obviously, we are on the other side of the country, not anywhere close to San Francisco. How cool is it to still be connected in with that community, even though you're been out of the game, now a member of the Hall of Fame, but still connected to that community, to that team?
Yeah. So when I retired, I stayed in the same one team in the area for my whole career, right? So, but when I retired, I started coaching, and that got me moving around. And I did about 6 years in college and 3 years in the NFL and high school, the last 4 years. And so, you know, doing that and trying to stay connected was a little bit of a challenge, but now having the flexibility each time I go back, you know, it's the community that I love so much and that loved me, that supported me, is still there. So every chance I get, I go back and try and be a part of that. And so that's important to me. I love the organization. They do a lot in the community. They're winning. It's always great to be associated with winning, but also it's great to support the guys that are there now. You got some great guys, especially on defense. Eric Armstead, you got Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy, you got Debo Samuels, Carolina, he's a Carolina guy, but certainly great to be back when I can.
I'm sure all the success has helped here this year as well, for sure. And we'll get into that too here before we wrap up. All right, we're gonna go to our next school now. So our students there at St. James, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have your students step up, state their name, the school that they go to, which is obviously St. James, and then go with their question.
Hi, my name is Richard from St. James, and I want to know if there's a certain person who motivated you or helped you become successful in your career.
Is there a certain person in your life that helped you become motivated throughout your career? Who was that person you looked to for motivation?
You know, I think watching people is the best teacher in life. Like, I could sit up here and tell you a lot, and hopefully things that I say may inspire you, may get you to think. But sometimes just watching people. My dad was that guy. You know, taught me a lot about morals and values. Taught me about hard work and work ethic. But watching him to get up each day that he had to go to work to provide and work for his family and take care of his responsibility, that picture in itself gave me what I needed. You know, it taught me the value of hard work and doing whatever time you put into something, that's what you're going to get out of it. And for me, my dad really kind of laid the foundation for me, spiritually as well. He laid the foundation there. So that was important to me. So he was a model of that early on in my life.
Now, obviously in the game of football and in life, you know, you have those mentors you looked up to. Was there a person once you first got to the 49ers organization that was that mentor for you? And then at the end of your career, were you that for anybody else? And kind of talk to us about how those roles change. And it's cool to kind of see that, you know, that was me one day. Or that's going to be me one day. What was that like for you?
It was, you know, when I walked in my rookie year, I came in the locker room with incredible talent, guys that played at a high level. Steve Young was our quarterback. Jerry Rice was at wide receiver, and I think he was in his 8th year. But on defense, I got a chance to play with Hall of Famers Ricky Jackson, Richard Dent, and other guys from around the league that were free agents that were in that defensive line room. But I got a chance to watch Jerry Rice. Like, I thought I had a great work ethic. I thought I worked hard, but I saw the picture of what it's supposed to be like in terms of a pro. From the time he got in the building, it was always about business. He was the first one in there, almost the last one to leave. But watching him, how he worked in practice, catching a hitch route and finishing all the way to the goal line. But his routes were always clean, they were fast, they were crisp, and it was game day reps in practice. And he absolutely did practice the way he played the game. And so I had an example of that. And there were other guys as well, but he stands out as a guy that was a model for me.
We talk about that work ethic, and I want to get to this because I think it's a good parallel between what students go through in the classroom, on the field. Got a bunch of athletes in here. How important is it for them to take that idea of work ethic and, you know, they are gung-ho about applying it on the football field, on the basketball court, on the baseball diamond? But how do you get, or how important is it for them to apply that same work ethic to the classroom, to life at home? And how can they take those lessons that they're learning and become a better person off the field?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, like, we're all a work in progress. You guys are at this very pivotal age, and the world is your oyster. Your future is so bright, and you have a chance to develop in a way that carves your own path and create your legacy, irregardless of where you started from. You know, I know most people come from different circumstances, okay? And they don't have, it's not in their favor. I get all of that. I experienced that as well. But you have an opportunity, okay, to carve your own path. And don't be afraid to go all out and make mistakes. You gotta go all out. Mistakes are bound to happen. Those are the most valuable lessons in life. When you fail, you learn. Don't be afraid to fail, okay? The world is your oyster. There's so much ahead of you, and you have to go for it. And don't be afraid to make the mistake, because that's the lesson that you need. Sometimes we make poor decisions. It's still a lesson that we need. And hopefully we learn a lesson not to make the same mistake twice, right? Think about Thomas Edison. He invented the light bulb, right? You think he got it right his first time? No, right? It probably took 1,000 times. He figured out 1,000 times how not to create a light bulb, right? But did those 1,000 failures, did he stop there? Did he pout? Did he slump his shoulders? Did he go out the door kicking rocks? He got back up and he kept going. So that's what we have to do. Okay, it's about taking advantage of every opportunity in front of you and go for it. If you make a mistake, get back up and keep going. And don't be afraid to do that. You guys with me on that?
Awesome. Ooh, got my juice flowing. That was great. At the beginning, we talked about what we believe in at the Hall of Fame, and it's our mission to honor the grace of the game. Gentlemen like yourself that played the game, NFL legends that made the game what it is today. But it's also to preserve its history. So for those of you who don't know, at our core, we are at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're a museum, just like any museum you would take a field trip to, except our museum's about the sport of football. So we thought, what better way to showcase that history, showcase what we do at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, than actually send it live into the Hall of Fame gallery, which for those of you that don't know is kind of the coolest part of the museum, I would say. In front of some artifacts that are going to look very, very familiar to you. So we've got Jerry Shockey out there right now. Whenever you're ready, Jerry, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Brian, thank you for taking time out of your busy day and out of your busy life and sharing the wisdom that you have and imparting that upon these young people here. For those that connected in here, my name is Jerry Shockey. I'm the Senior Director of Youth Education and Leadership here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Jake's right. We're in front of something that is very special to Mr. Young here, and that's these bronze busts. And so students that are tuned in here today, I want to give you an idea of just how big of an honor it is to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which means, I guess the eliteness, if you will, of the gentleman that is speaking to you right now. So think about this just for a second. Since football started at all levels, from little leagues all the way up through pro, since football started, there have been roughly about 300 million people that have played the game. Let's take that a little step further. The college level, there have been about 5 million that have played. Take that a step further into the pros, there have been about 30,000 that have been paid to play, coach, officiate, or administrate the game of football. There are only 371 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and one of those is a gentleman that you guys have. For those of you that are sitting there in front of them, live in front of you, and for those schools that are tuned in across the country, and those that are watching over YouTube, he's coming to you virtually. But this bronze bust, and it leads me to my question, because you touched on it before, and I know, Jake, you said the same thing. Jake and I are cut from the same cloth, and so is Nathan. We get emotional about this kind of stuff, and especially when we start talking about legacy and what the game teaches and the values of the game. But, Brian, can you talk to us real quick about, let's think about this bust, okay? This bust, in a sense, and by itself, is part of your legacy. It's who you're going to be remembered by. But I have a sneaky suspicion, especially because you're a faith background as well, is that it's bigger than just this bronze bust as well. Can you talk to them about what legacy means to you? What, first of all, you want to be known by, but then how kids can start shaping their legacy and start thinking about that now. As Aeneas Williams always says, begin with the end in mind. And so can you share with them a little bit more about what you want to be remembered by, and then also how they can start shaping their legacy, even at the young ages that they're at?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I alluded to it before about having the opportunity to carve your own path. And we all have different circumstances and upbringings, and our support system don't look the same one to another, right? But however, right, you have a chance to create something that is unique than what you started from, your original place. Think about that. And for me, that was important. You know, my dad and mom, they didn't finish high school. They didn't finish high school. And I had a chance to work, not even knowing how talented I was. They were telling me I was talented, and earned a scholarship to the University of Notre Dame. And then it was important for me to be the first person in my family to graduate college. Okay, so right there, I did something unique. They gave me an opportunity. And because you're here, you have an opportunity, right? They gave me an opportunity. And so I created something different, right? It wasn't always fuzzy and great all the time. And you work through adverse situations, even in those places of origin. But I had a chance to do that and make my parents proud. Then I had a chance to go to the next level, and I worked hard enough, and they said, hey, you're talented enough to be drafted in the NFL. Absolutely, I'm gonna take advantage of that. But when I got my foot in the door, that was just the beginning. There was so much more work to do. And so what did I do? I stayed focused, eliminated the distractions, didn't read the press clippings, stayed focused, and it was important, right? Every opportunity that come before you, to take advantage of it and rewrite or write your own story and create your own legacy. And where you guys are, 9th through 10th or 12th graders, okay, 15, 14 to 18 years old, right? You're here and you have a chance to do that. Create this legacy and story that is unique from your place, that could be better than where you started, or can be similar and modeled like somebody that you admire. And so for me, that was important to be able to do that. And really not even realizing what was happening at the time, but you almost got to be narrow in your focus, right? Keep your head down and keep working. There's always work to do, and there's always a better way to do it. And so just realizing that and continue to do that year after year after year after year after year. And then before long, you put your head up and somebody says, your body of work has been phenomenal. How you have treated people, the decisions you made on and off the field, the decision that you made in the community. Those are the things that create and write your own story, and your legacy becomes that. So that was kind of how it all happened.
That was beautiful, man. It really was. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And students, great question so far. You'll keep getting some opportunities there. And so, Jake, I'm going to send it back to you, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. I think it was a great answer as well. When we talked, especially working in, the education side of sports, you talk about legacy and teachers, and, you'll be up giving a speech, and who do you thank? High school football coach, high school teachers. And it just goes to show that there is such an impact. Speaking of high school football coaches and teachers, we got a question from a school that's watching us on YouTube. Chicago Heights Bloom High School.
Yeah,
sound familiar?
Absolutely.
They want to know.
Trojans.
They want to
Blazing
know,
Trojans.
speaking to student athletes listening about the work you put in at Bloom, both physically and academically.
Yeah. Well, I had a phenomenal support system in the high school too. And you guys have to understand, like we talk about opportunity. Teachers, yeah, they get paid, but they do this. It's a passion, and they do it, and it's unselfish in a lot of ways, and they don't get what they deserve. and they're giving up so much to pour into the youth, the young lives in this school. And so I'm grateful for my high school that did that for me. I had great teachers, and Mr. Z and Mrs. Z, to name a few, that were, and Principal Ron Patton, who were incredible support systems for me, and teachers that went the extra mile, and that were willing to create time to ask questions and spend time after class, to be a part of my development educationally. And so very grateful for that. And then just phenomenal coaches, wrestling coaches, football coaches, Coach Piazza, Coach Thompson, God rest his soul. But again, opportunity. Thank you for that opportunity. And it was an incredible experience. So proud to have graced the halls of Bloom High School.
Very cool. We're going to go back to some of our schools we have connected in remotely. We're going to go to East Hill, our interactive class there. I know we got a few classes, but we're going to go to our interactive one. So students there at East Hill, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have your students step up, state their name, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Declan Henderson, and I'm in 4th grade. What were some roadblocks in your life?
So we talked a little bit about getting through adversity, some roadblocks you may have faced, throughout your career and life.
Yeah, so I mentioned great question earlier by a young man over here. He asked about hardship in life, but I mentioned about sport, overcoming an injury. But I had a major hurdle to overcome in life, and you never really get over it. I got 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls, and my second oldest son, Kobe, had a brain cancer and passed away at 15 years old. And losing a child to such a nasty disease was devastating for me and my wife and my family. And it took a lot. It took a lot. We had to learn, not that we ever forget about our son. We continue to talk about him. We laugh, and going through grief is a process, but we learn to continue to remember him and talk about him. And so you don't ever get over it, but we learn to live with his absence. He's not here physically, but we know where he is, and that he's in the presence of the Lord, because our faith has sustained us through those hard times. But we have learned to live with him not physically being here. And so that was a hard part in our life. And there's a lot of things that moment taught me. Watching him go through what he went through. Listen, guys, like what you're doing right now, going through school, you think it's hard, right? You think practices in your sport, you think it's hard. You get sore, you get hit, but you got a chance to get back up in your healthy body and keep living and taking advantage of an opportunity. That's not hard. I'm here to tell you, okay? Watch a young man that continued to live life to his fullest, knowing that he's about to succumb to this deadly disease, and watch him live in the way he did, with resilience and courage. That was a life lesson for me. And I continue to remember that every time I come to a hard spot in my life, how courageous and resilient my son was. And that was a great example.
You talked a lot about your son in your enshrinement speech. Personally, I think it's one of the most moving ones that has been given, especially since, I've been at the Hall of Fame. Can you talk what that was like for you? And how important was it to share that message? How important was it for you to get that out to the public, off your chest, kind of almost lift that weight off your shoulders, to publicly say, this is what our family went through and this is how we feel about it, and that same message that we just shared there?
Great question. I didn't feel I didn't have confirmation that that was a story that I was supposed to share until the day before the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. Thanks to Barry Schiller, who helped me in that speech, writing my speech and just pulling things out of me, encouraged me to do that. He was 100% right, and said you need to tell this story, but I didn't want that to be the story, and I was heading in a completely different direction, and he really put his foot down and said, "BY, you need to, this is it. People want, this is what you need to share." And we had made a promise to our son. You know, the one thing as my son was transitioning that made him weep, one of the things that made him weep, you know what it was? He was afraid and saddened and broke, and his heart was broken because the thought of that he would be forgotten, and he passed away. And speaking of him and telling this story was an opportunity to keep a promise that my wife and I made to him. And so that was important. You know, his story was important. And I'm glad I got a chance to tell it and fulfill a promise, and grateful for the people that listened to it.
Well, there, I can tell you, all of us in Canton, and anybody in that stadium, we could have heard a pin drop for sure. And it was one of the coolest experiences that I've got to see in my time there at the Hall for sure. So we're going to go to another question now. We got one more school we want to get to here remotely. So we're going to go to Waterloo for our next question. So if your students there at Waterloo can go ahead, make your way up to the camera, go ahead and state your name, the grade that you're in, and then go ahead with your question.
Hi, my name is Damaris. I'm a 12th grader here at Waterloo East, and my question is, how did you block out the naysayers and like haters that kind of just didn't want to see you succeed, and how did you overcome that?
How did you block out the people that didn't want you to succeed?
Yeah, great question again. Focus. It's easy to hear the words of adoration from people that write the stories, and even the praises of teammates and coaches, but here's the one thing: you have to be your own worst critic to it, not to a detriment. Okay, you have to be the person that keeps your everything on a level playing field, and always walk with humility, and and it takes focus. You know, a lot of times we do want to read what people are saying, how we're being critiqued, or what are the positive things people are saying, and what are and the negative things that people say, and we tend to lean more toward that, and that's the thing that hurts us when we really start believing those things, or we get sideways when somebody makes a negative comment about your performance. That's part of the territory, okay, especially on the national stage. You have to learn how to be focused. You have to learn how to block out the noise. And to me, the words that I've always stayed near and dear to me were just staying humble and staying hungry. And humble is, you know what? God gifted me with these incredible gifts and abilities. God blessed me to play this game. He wired me in such a way that allowed me to continue to get back up, work the way I do, understand the way I do, and do the things that I did. So right there is nothing that I've done, and that already put me in a place of that God is the one. God is the supreme author and perfecter. And so I'm grateful for that. He created me. So that keeps me humble in itself. And then just because there's always work to do, stay hungry at it. And you know, don't succumb to the outside noise. Like, it's great to get praise, but we have to learn how to keep those things in perspective. because if we don't, we get our egos get inflated. And before long, you cannot take constructive criticism. And that's the thing with today's society, man. Like kids, you have to learn how to be open-minded, right? Coaching, criticism, constructive criticism. Hearing the truth is to your benefit, right? Hearing the truth is to your benefit. And so if you learn how to be open-minded to those things and continue to remain positive in your outlook, stand humble and hungry, that will help you shut out the outside noise and the distractions. And so don't pay attention to the naysayers.
Your son, you talked about your family a little bit already, but your son just committed to go play football at Notre Dame, same college you went to. One, how special was that for you, not only as a dad, but as an alumni? And then what was the difference between your recruitment and then now watching your son go through the same thing?
Yeah. One, I want to say I'm extremely proud of my son. And everything that he's done it on his own, not to the point that he didn't need parents and coaches, but football is his. When he started playing, I told him, I said, hey, don't play football for me. Don't play football for your mom. Play it because you want to play it. It has to make sense for you. And it has to be your own. You have to take ownership of it. And you have to understand, like, your why is going to be different than the next person's. Why do you do what you do? Why do you play? Why do you love competing? What is it in competition? Do you love, like, all of those things he had to learn and have to make it his own. Like I never once had to tell him to get up and go work out. Okay. Hey, you need to practice hard. But it was him doing it on his own. So I'm extremely proud of the work that he put in to put himself in that position. There was nothing that I did only other than coach him, but him taking that information and making it his own, looking at different videos and watching film on his own to learn the game. And then the work ethic, I'm proud of him for that. So and the hardest thing for me, being that I'm so proud that he went to Notre Dame, is that I didn't recruit him. Like, my wife went to Notre Dame as well, and we made a pact. We said, this is his decision. So the best thing that I could do was take him to USC, take him to a Michigan, take him to Tennessee, so he can ask the questions, he can see the facilities. But also for me, ask the questions for the coach so he can hear the answers, so he can make an informed decision. We didn't leave him to his own demise, right? We didn't leave him on his own. So we were helping facilitate that. Like, what's the best fit for him? And so when it came to the realization that, okay, I like this, this, and this, but here's where I want to go. It was an incredibly proud moment for me and for our family that he chose Notre Dame, because it was the best fit for him. And I knew that for him, but I couldn't say that. And I just saw him there, but he really liked USC and he really liked Michigan. And he chose Notre Dame. We're extremely proud, but recruiting is so much different now. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have social media, Instagram. We didn't have a chance to post our videos. We had scouts going around to different high school, or the coaches would send film in on these big blocky tapes to the coaches in the colleges, or the coaches would come by and grab tape so they could watch the film. We didn't have a chance to get information out there that fast. We didn't have information at our fingertips when I was coming out to watch videos, to learn the game, or to tweet a coach, to be in contact with a coach, right? So that's been a big difference in recruiting. You have all these star ratings that have come up. People slate you at different, star rating, 2-star, 3-star, 4, 5-star. Like, that wasn't around for us. So that's been a big difference as well.
We got another question here coming from one of our view-only classrooms. This is East Hill again, another classroom from their school. Just want to know, favorite team when you were growing up? Who was Bryant Young a fan of?
Pro?
Pro.
Well, I grew up in Chicago area. So I was a Bears fan, Chicago Bears fan. And, I watched Michael Singletary, who played and coached in the NFL. and then Richard Dent, who I admired as a defensive end, and then had the fortune of playing with him my rookie year. First year of free agency, 49ers signed him, and I got a chance to play with one of the guys I grew up watching. So the Bears was my team. But through the competition, the Bears and the 49ers kind of going back and forth in the 80s in the playoffs, and then the 49ers having, their reign in the 80s, I became a 49er fan as well, knocking my Bears off.
Kind of serendipitous there.
Yeah.
You become a fan and then, end up playing your entire career there. So as I promised, I want to get to some stuff about the Hall of Fame. And, we talk about those values. At the beginning, we mentioned, how important integrity was for you, but respect as well. And, everybody that's an athlete knows that, there's 8 to 10 seconds that you're going up against somebody, but outside that 8 to 10 seconds, it's so important to respect the other people across the line from you. And that's especially in the NFL, but being a member of the Hall of Fame, you have a unique ability to where those guys you played against are now on your team. And for those of you that don't know, if you watch this program, what I'm going to talk about here is, every August, when everybody comes back to Canton, there's a luncheon that you can only go into if you have one of these jackets. No staff, no cameras, nobody but the Hall of Famers. So you go into this room with your people you watched growing up, with guys who said, "Oh, I watched Bryant Young growing up." What's that room like? And what is that level of respect amongst all those Hall of Famers when they're all together?
Wow, there's so many incredibly talented, gifted people that played the game that wear this jacket that came before me, and I definitely stand on the shoulders of those people. But to be in that room was surreal. You're among guys that have set so many records, that have set the standard. When you think about, name a position. What position you play? Yeah. DB? All right. Charles Woodson, right? Charles Woodson, he's in that room. When you think about guys, for me, it was, as a D lineman, it was Mean Joe Green. You guys probably don't even know who that is. But when you think about standard, like guys like Charles Woodson is the standard. He's the standard as a defensive back, as a corner, right? Most people want to achieve and emulate the things that he do, right? Mean Joe Green is the standard. Warren Sapp is would be considered as a standard. John Randall at that D tackle position. Like when you think about guys that are the standard at your position, and to be able to be among those guys, like it's really humbling. And there's so much respect. There are no egos in that room. None. Like there's so much respect given because everybody has worked just as hard as the next person to get to where they are. And so to be in that room, to collaborate on different things, it's such a awesome time. Yeah, it really is.
Was there a Hall of Famer that, you get the call, you're in the Hall of Fame, you saw the video, you get pushed in the pool, the whole thing. You get to Canton. Was there a Hall of Famer that you're like, I cannot wait to shake this guy's hand. I cannot wait to say, thank you for all you've done for the game of football. Was there a guy for you?
You know what? My teammates who were in the Hall first and foremost at my position, I mentioned Richard Dent, Ricky Jackson, who I played with my rookie year, who's in the Hall of Fame. And then, my teammates, I got a chance to shake their hands and be among them and really just admonished and excited that I'm in this unique fraternity with them. Mm-hmm. But like I mentioned, the guy that was really excited to shake hands with, it was Mean Joe Green, because he was a standard at that position for a long time, and a lot of people looked up to him. So Mean Joe Green.
So, that's the culmination of your career getting into the Hall of Fame. But I want to talk about, before we wrap up here, what was your welcome to the NFL moment? What was that moment in practice? You walk out in the same field as Richard Dent, a guy you grew up watching. What was that moment for you where you're like, all right, this is different. I'm in the NFL now.
There was a couple my rookie year. One was my very first mini camp. So right after the draft, back in the day, the next weekend or maybe 2 weeks after the draft, they would have a mini camp. And so they would bring the whole team in. And so everybody's together, rookies, veteran guys that are signed to the team. And so this was, I'll never forget, this was, so we go in Thursday, we have a practice Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday's the last day everybody's getting out if you didn't live in town at that time. But I remember the D linemen, they allowed me to take like 13 reps in a row, and nobody wanted to sub me because they were veterans. Like, I'm done. This is a mini camp. Rook, you take it. Like, Rook, you take it. And so I just remember going 13 reps in a row, and we're not in pads, we're in shorts. And I'm taking almost every rep, that last series, and my tongue was hanging out. And I was just like, I can't believe it. They left me out here to dry. But there was one thing at the end of that mini camp, one of my teammates said to me, and it inspired me, and it never left me. It was Steve Wallace, who was our starting left tackle, all-pro tackle. He said, hey, young fella, he said, you're going to be all right. He said, you're going to be all right. And when Steve told me that encouraged me so much. Here's a 8-9 year NFL veteran telling me, hey, young fella, you're going to be all right. I like your game. That was so encouraging. And I got a chance to tell Steve that gave me juice. They gave me encouragement and inspiration that, you know what, I think I'm going to be okay. But that was just the beginning. Of course, that was just a shorts practice.
Awesome. All right. We got a few more minutes here, and I do want to get your thoughts. Big games this weekend. Obviously, you got your 49ers playing in the NFC Championship game. Birth of the Super Bowl on the line. We have to get, what are the early predictions here? Are we going to see San Francisco in Las Vegas?
That's what I'm going with. I like our chances. I like our defense, offense, special teams. I like our coaches. I think they put guys in the right position to play. We had a little bit of a slow start this past weekend, but worked the kinks out. And what I do love is that they found a way to win. And there are no style points in the playoff for how you win. Is that you just got to win. And it wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win. And that's what I like about them. It gave them an opportunity to be in an NFC Championship game. And so really it's about winning. Okay, found a way to win, and they did that. And so I like my Niners chances this weekend in the NFC Championship game.
All right. Last question here. And before I ask it, just want to thank you so much for giving up some of your time to visit with us today. I want to thank the school and the district for allowing us to be here, host the program within their walls today. We can't thank them enough for everything. Last question here is, and we wrap the program up because it's a good way, I think, to send everybody out with a message. What is that one idea, that one thing you want everybody listening today to remember? If they can only remember one thing, something we've touched on already, something maybe we haven't touched on, but if they can remember that one nugget, what's that one thing you want them to walk out with today?
Opportunity. Okay. Take advantage of your opportunity. And don't be afraid to make a mistake and learn from the things that didn't get you in the right place or the decision that didn't go right. Sometimes when you veer left, you can always veer back on the right track. And but you have this great opportunity in front of you. Don't waste it. Don't waste it, man. And when think about legacy, think about legacy. What do you want to create? How do you want your story to go? Think about that. Continue to write your own story with the opportunity in front of you.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, Connected by Extreme Networks, featuring class of 2022 member, Hall of Famer, Mr. Bryant Young. Let's give him one big round of applause for being here today. As always, all of our students who tuned in today, asked questions, thank you so much. School here, thank you again. And then, Mr. Young, want to thank you one more time from myself, all of our team at the Hall of Fame for participating in the program. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Awesome, Jake.